I will say this, Greg, about the bombshell that was dropped across college football yesterday with Pat Fitzgerald and everything that went on at Northwestern. And shoot, I don't know the man. So I always say this about coaches that I respect, that I'm respecting them from afar. You know, you obviously, with your work at Nebraska, have gotten to know all the head coaches there. I've gotten to know, to a certain extent, head coaches in previous jobs, guys at various SEC schools. But a guy like Pat Fitzgerald, it was just everything that he's represented in college football seems to have been completely above board, first class,
Absolutely.
just a great coach, both on the field and in the way he conducted the program. So when this continued to unravel and the details you know, it just is a horrible look and just not anything that most of us would attribute to Pat Fitzgerald.
I was shocked. I mean, yeah, because like you said, this is a guy that was just had so much respect and reverence in college football. I mean, he'd been there forever. And I mean, the last time I saw him was in Dublin, and it was after Northwestern beat Nebraska, and myself and Steve Sipple were out on the field doing our recap video feature from the game, and we were in a hurry because they were turning on the sprinklers, and they told us we only had a few minutes. And we're talking. I'd asked Steve a question, and here's Pat Fitzgerald walking right, behind our camera down the sideline. He's wearing his suit already again, and he's with one of his handlers, is probably his SID or whatever, and he stopped and he's like, "Hey guys, how you doing?" And it stopped Steve in his tracks about what he was talking about, because it was so funny that because that's the kind of guy he is. He's a very personable guy, and it's just such an unfortunate thing, especially the timing of it was really, I mean, it really puts Northwestern in a hole right now going into fall camp for sure. And I mean, obviously it was probably a move too, where that would have probably, if Pat Fitzgerald was in Indianapolis in 2 weeks at Big Ten Media Days, that would have dominated the whole thing as well. And I don't think Northwestern wanted to deal with that. So, boy, it is. It's hard to get used to. It was about 24 hours ago when this went down. So, very, very unfortunate, and a guy, a coach that I respect a lot. I have a lot of respect for him, and we'll see what happens. I'm sure he'll land another job. I'm sure of that. I mean, because of the relationships that he has in the business and everything. But yeah, he's not. You haven't seen the last of Pat Fitzgerald, but I'm not one to speculate what really went on there. So, it is what it is, I guess.
So to bring it around to GBR, is there anyone on the current coaching staff or anybody connected to Nebraska football? Because I came up with 29 candidates. So we were doing a live stream when Pat Fitzgerald was fired. We started listing out, and I have yet to produce a video, but I wanted to touch on all these guys. But is there anyone that you can think of, whether it be on the current staff or connected to Nebraska football in any way, that you think could be a candidate?
One name comes to mind because I know he's not doing anything but being on the radio every morning with my colleague Steve Sipple would be Bill Bush. Definitely a guy that has experience. Not as much as a head coach, but he has been a head coach in the past. But that's a guy that lives and breathes football, and I'm sure if they asked him to come and interview, he'd go to Chicago tomorrow. So But currently, no, those guys are way too young. I don't think any of them, besides Matt Rule, probably ever met Pat Fitzgerald. I could be wrong, but former guy. It's hard to say. I mean, I don't want to go the Mickey Joseph route because, again, he has not been a head coach either, and I think his legal problems have been cleared, so he would be eligible to move away from Lincoln. But I don't know. I'm not 100% on that.
Yeah, it's an odd situation, obviously, but the job's also an odd one because they're playing in the Big Ten, but they're not. There's the academics, there's the size of the school. It's not a football power, but they still play in the Big Ten. And nothing's going to be expected out of this team. They were already horrible on the field before this happened. They were terrible last year. Like
for about 3 years in a row, they've been pretty bad.
Well, no.
Well,
I don't know about
2 years.
Yeah, the last couple of years they've been awful.
But they were they were in the Big Ten title game 3 years ago. So,
yeah. So on one hand, this is an opportunity for a coach to come in and just kind of be a hero. It's almost like coming in after the Joe Paterno, Jerry Sandusky, and all that, and Bill O'Brien comes in and they have scholarship reductions and suspensions and bowl ban and there's nothing but up. Well, this is also connected to because they've just been so bad on the field and who knows what kind of player suspensions there will be after they review all this and investigate, and player suspensions or dismissals from the team or whatever that's going to look like. They could just be scrounging around to piece together a football team. Who knows? That it's an opportunity for a young coach to come in, get a Big Ten job, and if he goes 1-11 the first year, that's a mulligan. The first year is going to be a complete. Nobody's going to expect anything. Nobody's going to hold anyone accountable to. It's going to be more about just get the program back on its feet, and the record's going to be kind of inconsequential.
Well, that will be next year. This year you throw it out because they just did announce within the hour or two that they are retaining the entire staff. So it's probably going to be an interim. They didn't say anything about the head coach, but it's probably going to be an interim head coach. I mean, it has to be. And you either elevate somebody from the current staff or you bring in, somebody that's not in the game right now that could do the job for a year. And who knows, maybe they would want to do it late. I mean, the one thing that they do have going for them, well, two things. Obviously, they're in Chicago, but their facilities are amazing. The new facilities that they built are probably the most beautiful facilities in college football. And you're talking about a team that, a program that is not an Alabama, Georgia, caliber type program, obviously, but it is a Power 5 program, and the academics do play a big part in, players at Northwestern go to class every day. I mean, that's a given. You don't play if you don't go to class, unlike a lot of other schools. So, so they do have a couple things going for them, and I'm sure it will attract somebody to come and help out for a year, and then they'll reassess everything and they'll hire their guy next season, and then you'll see a whole new coaching staff there. That's just the way it goes. But right now it's the time, like I said about the timing. You're 2 weeks, well, for them 3 weeks away from fall camp, and all of a sudden you don't have a head coach anymore, and the pickings are very slim for what's out there at this time of year. So they're going to roll with what they have and try to keep everything, the continuity the same, and keep going on, with what they were building to do. And then, everything is going to change next year.
I thought of three guys who don't currently have a job. Yet Jim Leonard, the former Wisconsin defensive coordinator, he's
Yeah,
still out there.
who we thought was going to be, what, Cincinnati head coach, or I mean, he was penciled in. Even the Wisconsin head coach, he was penciled in for. But yeah, that's
So
that's a good one.
yeah, so I thought of him. He was actually the first guy I thought of. I thought Jim Leonard has still not moved on from Wisconsin. He can certainly be a defensive coordinator almost anywhere he wants. He was one of the
Sure,
best in the business.
sure.
He was being courted by NFL teams, so I don't know if he would want to do that. Uh, and as you mentioned, he was the interim at Wisconsin last year as the head coach. Paul Christ,
Yeah,
sticking to Wisconsin.
wow. But both very familiar with the conference, so yeah.
And Ken Niumatalolo, the former Navy coach, who was there for a long time.
Very impressive guy in my book. I always liked watching his Navy teams play. I'm a little bit biased because my dad was a naval officer, and so Navy is always kind of like my closet number 2 favorite team in college football. So
yeah, he did a nice job there. Did a great job. He was there for 16 seasons.
and heck, if you had him too as your head coach, I'm sure you're going to be you're going to have that Hawaiian pipeline of players automatically.
I've got a fourth guy for you who doesn't have a job.
How about Bo
got a
Pelini?
nice resume.
How about Bo Pelini?
Bo Pelini. Okay. I wasn't going to go there, but Bo Pelini. It's just strange that I know that he's got the reputation as not the most likable guy in the world, but he churned out 9 and 10 win seasons at Nebraska, and he went to Youngstown State. And for him to never get another shot seems rather odd.
Yeah, if he learned to keep his mouth shut with the media and talking about the fan base, he'd probably still be okay.
But the guy that I thought of who coached a similar program to Northwestern is David Shaw.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one. And he's been out for a while now, hasn't he?
So there you go.
That one right there really fits the mold, in my opinion. Yeah.
All right, folks, we're talking Huskers here at the Voice of College Football.
No, we're talking Northwestern.
We're talking with this is the new Northwestern channel. Yes, absolutely. With the number of people they have in the stands every week, I don't know how many people we could expect on a live stream to talk Northwestern football.
But. Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, because when Nebraska plays there, the stands are all Husker fans. So.